Hey you all, Sis. So coming to you today because I wanted to talk about what it means to be kind to your mind, but also what it means to have peace of mind in the times when you need it the most. And so, unfortunately, this past weekend, I experienced a security incident when I was out walking Baba that retrospectively gave me some very deep insights into how I navigate certain spaces, but also my relationship with self. And so, one big thing I got out of the incident experience was that we must prioritize our well being. And I say that because a lot of times for women of color, especially Black women, we are taught to take up the least amount of space. We're taught to make sure that we are either shrinking ourselves or not becoming a burden or not becoming an issue. And so as we are pouring out and giving to others, we are taking the least amount for ourselves, and we are not even fully receiving the reciprocity of care that I'm so adamant about. Instead, we shrink ourselves or we put anything and anyone above us or in front of us. And so for me, even looking back at the security incident, at the forefront of my mind was my dog. Secondly was like government relations, what that's going to look like optic wise. And then my well-being was behind it. And I realized that I was super frustrated with myself. I was disappointed because if you're close to me, you know I have a very particular set of skills, and I have the capacity to be able to go into certain spaces in order to protect myself and protect those I love. I'll put it like that. But because I was doing mental gymnastics and because I'm like, okay, my dog, okay, government relations, okay, optic wise, all this other different stuff, I did not really give space, give way for me. And then after the fact, I then did not allow myself the time to feel without judgment or to feel without the constant analyses. And so I was not honoring myself and my sacred being or honoring how and what I had experienced or endured because I wasn't being kind to my mind. And I wasn't being kind to me in an extent. And so we have to think about what are we doing for ourselves, and then what are we doing for others? And what we do for ourselves sets the tone. And also, not only does it set the tone, how are we helping others by helping ourselves? So the question I have for you is, how can we uplift and encourage ourselves? And then what are those implications for others, depending on how we uplift, how we encourage ourselves? Especially in the most sacred of times, especially in the most vulnerable times, like if someone is dealing with a security incident or someone's dealing with a space where they're unsafe or a space that has been deemed unhealthy, like how do we then navigate that space with our well-being being prioritized, where our well-being be in the forefront of our mind and not an afterthought? And it's funny because I host sessions and classes where I talk about like being a spiritual doula, where I talk about strategic support and what that really means or what that really looks like, or what and how we can enact that in practical ways in the most needed times. I also talk about attachments and connections, and it's funny that when I was doing moments of reflection based upon what had happened on Saturday morning, I was like, did I easily, or how did I so easily fall into an attachment mindset with self? Like, how did I go from constantly counseling and talking to people about prioritizing your well-being to being in an attachment mindset with self, because I had allowed myself so easily to fall into negating my feelings. I had fallen so easily into neglecting my needs. And how is that even possible? And not necessarily how is it possible, but identifying what brought that about, or what made it so easy for me to fall into that attachment mindset after a security incident, after a space where I could have or should have been wrapping my arms, wrapping my mental arms, wrapping my spirit around myself so that I could then process, navigate the feelings, navigate the thoughts of what that meant and what I had encountered in that moment. So like I mentioned, it's so important to identify why it's so easy for us to disregard our needs before it gets out of hand, before it's becoming a pattern, before it becomes a mindset that's been ingrained. Like, how do we identify why it's so easy for us to do that before it becomes into an issue where we're then in dis-ease with self? I want you to really hear what I said, though. So, like, identifying the disregard so we can avoid the dis-ease. And as you likely know, when you're in dis-ease with self, that manifests somatically often. So you go from having experience in the physical, natural space, natural plane, and then you are internalizing, you are materializing things spiritually, energetically, emotionally, mentally, that then starts to come out somatically. So identifying the disregard so that you can avoid the dis-ease. And after we do that identification, what work we need to do in order to lessen the probability of that happening again? What work do we need to do in order to increase awareness, in order to identify those aspects of attachment within our relationship with self, and how we can then eradicate those things so that we can move forward and contribute even more and even better to our prioritization of well-being, but also contribute to our peace of mind. What does it mean to be kind to your mind? What does it mean to be kind to yourself? Does that look like I am going to hunker down and really give myself grace? Does it look like I'm going to give myself compassion? Does it look like a peace of mind, mindfulness? Do I really lean into how I am being mindful? Am I leaning into how I'm maintaining my peace? And if there are narratives and or mindsets and or triggers and or thoughts that are completely contrary to what I know to be true, how do I then combat those so that I'm maintaining my peace? Am I allowing my soul to speak? Am I allowing myself to speak to my soul? Am I allowing the beautiful parts of my mind to flow as I try to stagnate the parts of my mind that aren't, that cause me to pause, that cause me to be catatonic, that cause me to disregard, neglect, negate what it is I actually need in that moment? So not even the verbalization to others about what you need, but what it is that you know you need, because you're being honest with self, because you're honoring your sacred being, despite the external factors that are swirling around or going or happening. So I love the fact that we're talking about being kind to your mind. I love the fact that we're talking about peace of mind. And you all know I like alliterations, and I only like alliterations. I love acronyms and things where it is an easy and quick reminder about what you need to do. Peace, practice, equitable, affinity, consistently, and either enthusiastically or empathetically. Peace, practice equitable affinity consistently and either enthusiastically or empathetically. And when you're doing the equitable practice of affinity in a consistent manner with enthusiasm and empathy, that is foremost for yourself. Foremost for yourself. Giving yourself grace. Let your prioritization of well-being start with you. Remember and remind yourself that you are not your experiences, though you learn lessons from your experiences. Remind yourself that your past does not affect your future unless you bring it into your present. Remind yourself that remain consistent with how you're treating yourself and make sure you're treating yourself well, despite circumstances. And so I decided to take like a couple self-care days, even though when I say a couple self-care days, that still means like yesterday I was on work emails, which I should not have been because I was supposed to be off. Monday, I didn't really leave work early like I was supposed to. Like I kind of pseudo left work early, but like today I'm really trying to be good. And you know, it takes practice, especially for people who are executioners, which I realized recently talking to one of my parents that since I've been on the island and, you know, we moved out here at the end of February, a week and a half before 2 Category 4 cyclones, I was reminded that since that point, I've been on go mode. I've been on execution mode. Because as much as I like to theorize, I like to put theory into practice. And I like to get stuff done. And so I realized, talking to my parent in the wake of the security incident this past weekend, is that I've been going. And I have not had time to truly, like, really settle and be in my own sacred being and really acknowledge what it means and what it takes to live in certain environments versus visiting them. Because it's all cute and dandy when you're visiting or you're on holiday or you're just, you know, here for a hot second versus when you have relocated and uprooted your entire life. And so your entire way of living is now significantly and drastically shifted. And so I just want to echo again, pace yourself, take your time to be kind to your mind, take your time to have peace of mind, and to establish a consistent, healthy, and positive relationship with self so that when incidents occur, because you know none of us are, you know, what's that word I want to use? Immune to life circumstances, you know, in and out of season. You are able to care for yourself in a sacred and beautiful way that maintains and continues to further your healing despite what might come up. So again, honor your sacred being. Do it for you, because you don't know what the implications of doing it and advocating and being present for yourself will do for others that come behind you. Peace. Practice equitable affinity consistently with enthusiasm and empathy. So that's what I leave with you all today. Remember, be kind to your mind. Remember, have peace. Practice peace. Give yourself peace despite circumstances and external factors and things that might rise up. And then the other caveat to that is, if you have identified or you realize you're in a space where you need support, where you need that love, where you need that encouragement, where you need just heartbeat and the beating of care, because you're in a vulnerable space, because you're in a space that is hard for you to navigate, let those that love you know that. Let your nurturing nucleus know that you need that support And hopefully they have the capacity to hold space for you. But be good to yourself. Practice peace consistently in your life. Maintain a healthy, kind, loving relationship with self. And when you fall out of that space where it might not be seen as healthy, find your way back to it. Find your way back to you. So that's all I have for y'all today. Sending you so much love, so much care, so much warmth. Be good to yourself. Practice equitable affinity consistently with enthusiasm and empathy. Bye, you all.